Photo hack episode number 1. Hi, I'm Joel Grimes with the Joel Grimes Academy, and we're going to talk about a photo hack that I keep getting emails for because people see my behind the scenes and they say, how do I stop my strobe and modifier from spinning on the end of my boom? So we're going to talk about that. All right, so if you put a strobe with a modifier on the end of a boom, you'll know that if you stick it out there and you try to angle it, it's going to start spinning on you. You crank it down, it still spins. You get a modifier like a 5-foot octo, and it's almost impossible to get that tight enough before it starts to spin down. So I have 2 ways that I can do this. Actually, there's a couple ways you can do it, but 2 different ways that you can solve this problem. I get emails all the time, and so here is the solution. Solution number 1 is to take a grinder and you grind a flat spot on the end of your boom pole. Now, I'm going to show you that in a minute. Now, to get that, you have to find a grinder. This is a Harbor Freight. I mean, literally, I think it's 20 bucks. It might be $22, whatever. It's not very expensive. You just take this, but you have to have eye protection, ear protection, hand protection. That's very important. I tell that to my kids all the time because I've made mistakes. I've cut my hand. I've chipped, things and pieces of metal flying everywhere. Anyways, it's just a slight grind on the tip. You make a flat spot on the very end. I'll show you that in a minute. This is the easiest, simplest way to do it. All my booms have this little flat spot on the end of it. Now, here's what happens though. I'll travel, I'll fly and speak somewhere and they supply everything for me, right? I show up, they got booms and everything. Guess what? They don't have a flat spot on the end of their boom and I deal with that same problem. But hack number 2 will solve that. But number 1 is find a grinder. It's not very difficult, just a little flat spot so that when you screw that little post in, it will not slide. All right, so here is what it looks like when it's flattened out. So there's the post. I just grind a little flat spot along there. You can't really tell. You don't want to grind too much because then you'll make this thing, not very sturdy. So don't destroy the integrity of this post, but just a flat spot enough to where you can see it's got some little, you can wear and tear. That's because that's where I'm mounted every time. So I find that little flat spot, I torque it down, and it stays in position. Now, here's one of the things that I would say is that it's important to understand why I am, number 1, running my boom horizontal. Okay? There's a reason why I do that. People say, why is it always directly over your lens? And that allows me to crawl underneath here or raise it up so I can get underneath it. If you run it on an angle like this, okay, so you say, I'm going to run on an angle, there's less of a torque on there when it's on an angle, but every time you want to adjust it up and down, you have a 2-axis that you have to adjust. You have to adjust this part, then you have to adjust the strobe. And that is very time consuming. When you run it horizontal, like this, you want your strobe, I'll set it up in a minute, you just spin it up and down. So it makes it a lot easier. If you have to go super high, you might want to angle it. But for 99% of the time I use my boom. This is a Avenger, I think they call it a mini boom. It's about 120 bucks on an Avenger stand. That's not all the time. I'm out in the field with some of my stacker stands with a really small little boom. Still have a flat spot grounded on it, but for a studio situation, this is my bigger setup. You want to make sure that you make it easy when you're shooting. So when you just spin it up and down, adjust it, 1 axis can do that. So that's why I have it on a horizontal 90 degree to my main stand. And so that puts a lot more torque though on the end of my post. So that's why I do the ground flat spot. All right, so let me show you how I mount it on here. Usually what I do is I spin this so I have this loose enough to where I can spin it. I pick up my strobe and I put it right in a position here like this. Tighten this down a little bit. Then I tighten my post here. And then I make sure that I'm right on that flat spot and I tighten it as I spin it. Now, it is on there for good. I always have a counterweight. Here's my little sandbag. I have bigger sandbags I can put on here, but this is enough for this Godox 8600 with a 24-inch beauty dish from Westcott. That's my favorite, one of my favorite to-go modifiers. I put my 5-foot octo on there. It's going to be heavier, which means I have to probably put a bigger counterweight. Now I'm going to adjust it this way, usually, to find out. Let's see. Wait, hold on a second. We're going to find out where this balancing spot is. Let's do it this way. So there, it's good. The risk of it tipping is a lot safer than if you don't have it balanced. I always run it on the leading leg, and that's going to keep it more stable. So now, when I want to adjust it, this is it, up and down, very simple. And so I'm always adjusting just a little bit. Or you can do it on this post, either one of these little adjustments there. Once it's secure, and you can go out in the wind, and it won't tip on you. Now again, every strobe is different, the weight's a little different. Now we're getting batteries on the back of the strobes, make it a little bit heavier. So that's I would call hack number 1. Let's go to hack number 2. All right, solution number 2. There's a couple different little umbrella brackets that I have laying around. In fact, somehow I just collect this stuff, right? So this is, I think, from Westcott. When you buy like a speed ring or something, this shows up. You can buy it probably individually, about 20 bucks. Here's one I've had probably for 30 years. Umbrella mount bracket, what do they call it? You look at them on B&H, Adorama, whatever, they're dime a dozen. It's just, again, it's an umbrella, they call it an umbrella mount. Then here's one from Tether Tools. So this is actually something I was digging for these, I found this, right? So another solution, same concept. So let me show you what that's all about. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this on the end here. I'm dropping stuff, okay? So if you don't have a grinder, this is a solution, and you don't wanna go to Harbor Freight to pick up your grinder. This is the solution. All right, so you need one of these posts. This is a 3/8 to 5/8 stud. It's like, they're a dime a dozen also. They're different sizes. This is one that's got some funky things on it. This is laying in my kit of just junk, right? I've got some other ones laying around too that are a little smoother, but this one, you put it in here, you spin this like this. You gotta have one that's enough to where you put one post in and you have another post to grab on. So, with that, watch how easy this is. Now I take my light, I put it in here like this. Make sure everything's tight. Make sure this is all lined up here, okay? Now, it's a little bit, the distance is a little lower, right? Which you gotta means they got a little higher. But now, what's really nice about this is there's not a lot of torque on this shaft right here. And so it's a lot less torque, a lot easier to balance. You just lose the distance a little bit here. But again, that's not a big deal. Same thing here. I want to adjust it, just spin it up and down. Now, it's I guess your point of access is up here, so it's going to be a little bit, it'll change the distance from your subject just a little bit. You got to counter for that. But that's a great solution, and it's really pretty easy. Now, this piece right here from Tether Tools has the post already built into it. So it actually is, it'll probably be a better solution all the way around, because then you don't lose the post or whatever. So I didn't even know I had that. I mean, I knew I had it, but I didn't think about this as a solution until I was looking for those. So this is Tether Tools. I don't know the exact name of this, but within about 2 minutes of searching, you'll find this on Tether Tools. So there's two solutions to keep your boom and your modifier and your strobe from spinning. And believe me, if you don't have this, you're sitting there cranking that thing down. And I've even cranked on the strobe itself to get this right here so hard that I've snapped it. I know that's hard to believe, but it really is not a good solution to over crank that little post right here. So this keeps all the weight off of there, and that's my hack for the day. And now I don't have to get all these emails of people asking me how to solve that problem. You have it right here. So don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe and hit that little bell, and then you can keep up with all my current content.